What's up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I am back with a review and an update. I'm gonna get the update out of the way first. I want to give a big shout out to my homeboy, the Briscoe1234, all the way up in Canada. Big ups to everybody out there in Canada. I just finished his custom cape a little bit ago. Actually, the first person in Canada that I've done this for. Did one in Dubai, and actually it was more expensive to send it to Canada than it was to Dubai, which was crazy. But yes, this is what he looks like now. He sent me the Capullo Batman, as you can see. It's only a second Capullo or second DC collectibles Batman that I've done this for, and it came out perfect. I mean, it's pretty much the same process all across the board, because these days they all have taken their cues from past DC Direct figures and the way Mattel's done it. So expect that coming early next week. Also, I want to say thanks for the custom Cobra Commander. I mean, that shit, he's pretty dope. I completely passed over this figure when I was seeing him in the store, but I only saw the blue version. I never saw the black version. But with this jacket and whatnot, even with the kind of difference in finish, you know, he's glossy on the arms and kind of flat on the jacket, it still looks good, and it's still, like, you know, 10 steps closer to what he looked like in the movie versus what we actually got. So thanks, homie, I really appreciate it. You see him in his combat chariot. It's a find at the thrift store. But anyway, on to the review. I finally found the Night Marksmen pack. So now I finally, after all this time, have Pursuit of Cobra Low Light. This was one of my, like, grails forever. And everybody's all like, meh, because they managed to get him when they got him way back in the day. I never saw him in the store, never once, because if I had seen him, I would have got him. And I have almost all of Pursuit of Cobra. There's a handful of figures that I really didn't care about, and now I have another Night Viper. I liked the Night Viper as a child, and I don't like this version so much. There are really basic, you know, fundamental issues with this figure, and it still surprises me that now the Night Viper is more sought after than Low Light. I mean, granted, we've had a couple years to get our hands on Low Light. You know, he's been floating around the internet going for over $100, you know, or over 50 to $100 for several years now. It's about 3 or 4 years. But he's a superior figure on every level, every conceivable level, period. About the only thing that I'll say is a little bit, you know, it's not lackluster, but it's just not as flashy, is his design. He's got a simple design. It's very tactical, and it makes sense, whereas the Night Viper has more of a sci-fi kind of look to him, you know what I mean? It's flashier, you know, and you can mix and match colors and it would still look good. It kind of reminds me of some of the suits you have in Halo 3. It doesn't matter what color you put it in, they always look thorough, you know what I'm saying? But Low Light is the superior figure 100%. I mean, from the engineering, which is always an issue with a lot of Hasbro figures. Like, you can clearly tell that he is a Pursuit of Cobra figure and that the Night Viper is a Retaliation figure. It's like blatantly obvious. The plastics feel different, even if they're the same plastics. Maybe the tolerances, like they use more plastic for certain things or a better batch of the plastic. It's just this red Night Viper feels really cheap. I mean, even his helmet, if you got the original Retaliation release of the Night Viper, his helmet is actually kind of hard, and it once you put it on, it actually feels like it's secure, you know? The red Night Viper one, it's soft. The helmet itself is made of a softer rubber, and it kind of jiggles around when you put it on, and I don't know, it just feels like it's going to bend around, and if your room that you have all your stuff in, all your collection in, is hot at all, it just feels like it's going to warp because of the fact that it's hot. Just weird things about the figure, you know, and I'm going to go into detail about all those issues, but none of that shit, not a single not a single issue that the Night Viper has is present on Low Light. Low Light is just, man, it's exactly what I was hoping, you know, and being that I had the Marauders version, you know, Slaughter's Marauders version, I'm pretty happy about that. So, as you can see, I have 2 of each. I had a Night Viper when I was a kid. I found him. He didn't have any weapons, didn't have the helmet. Actually, back then, the helmet, the, you know, scope was connected to the helmet. It was a separate piece, but it was stuck on him when I found him. And I didn't have a Robin figure for my Batman. So back then, that was when Batman was just a little bit over 5 inches. So these guys were perfect because they were shaped like, you know, they're about the height of kids in comparison. So I used my Night Viper as a makeshift Robin. I mean, this is what you do when you're like 8. You know what I'm saying? So he kind of holds a special place because I had him as a kid, and I remember, you know, playing with him when I was a kid. Now they've updated him. You know, I went back and I did research, and I saw that back in the day he was a night fighter. He didn't use all the gear that you see here. He, I think he had the shotty, he had some type of assault rifle, a backpack to store them on, a pistol, I think maybe, and that was it. He didn't have the sniper rifle. Now they've added the sniper function to these guys, and I have to say, this picture right here, that's 5 seconds before the sniper rifle popped out of his hands, and that's the Retaliation one, which is made of a little bit better plastic, at least with mine. He doesn't feel all soft and like his hands aren't all gummy, and you know, he just feels more like a standard G.I. Joe release, whereas the red one from the Night Marksmen pack feels very cheap. He feels like the rest of the Retaliation wave, you know. His hands are good, they're not gummy, but they're awkward. And I'm not saying that there weren't some 30th anniversary or Pursuit of Cobra figures like the Cobra Vipers, or Troopers, I'm sorry, that had strange hands and couldn't hold stuff, especially the trigger hand. But it just doesn't, I don't know. I mean, there are some fundamental issues, like I said, with this figure, from his construction to the web gear to the, because if you look closely, you can see both of them have different web gear. So from the web gear to the weapons they use and to how they're supposed to use it, they can't do those things convincingly. You know what I mean? Right here, like I said, I got lucky, and that was right before it popped out of his hands. I got this picture, and it just strikes me as odd that this is the most sought after figure from one of the most sought after figures from Retaliation, as well as from this 50th anniversary line. I mean, people are passing up Low Light. Oh, excuse me. They're passing up Low Light for this guy. And I get that, you know, aesthetically, you know, on the surface, he looks awesome. That's an awesome design. I will not fault them there. This is one of those times where they really did a good job updating the classic design, which, to be honest, was never an issue with Hasbro, you know, because Pursuit of Cobra was the pinnacle of that, and it's the best example I can give to people of, you know, reimagining classic figures and making them, you know, better as far as construction and engineering goes. But in this case, though, the look is where it stops, because once you start to play with them, you start seeing that there are issues. You know, there are a lot of issues. And it's weird because people all over the communities, the various Joe communities, people doing reviews on his tank and everything like that, and I know a lot of them are customizers, but that should not change the fact that you paid money for a product, and the product does not work in comparison to, it doesn't work the way that other products by the same people in the same line, the way they work. You know, one problem I've always had with G.I. Joe that I don't have with some of my favorite lines, like the Soda Street Fighter figures, like SH Figuarts, just to name a few. There's a base level of things that all the figures made by that company in that line, there's a base level of things that they're capable of doing. G.I. Joe used to be like that, where you understood, you know, O-ring construction, their arms could usually only go so far forward or together, you know, and so far apart, and, you know, they can twist in this way and whatever, and they can hold guns this certain way, because if you do too much, you're going to pop those thumbs off. Then when we started getting the 25th anniversary ones, you're seeing more possibilities, but some of the same basic fundamental things were there. Limitations, some of the pluses, the minuses, the whole nine. Now, it's like, in order to wow the thirsty-ass community of, you know, Joe collectors that throw money at Hasbro, they're just putting together anything. You're like, if you look at a lot of these figures, they're kind of they're usually a cobbling of parts. And this is how Hasbro has always done it. All of a sudden, though, it's as if they forgot that they need to test and make sure that these parts actually work with the sculpt and work with the overall function of the character before they, you know, release the final. If there are fans that make customs where they cobble together figures and they Dremel out space to make sure that the joints that they choose to use together based on aesthetics actually work, you know, they're functional, you know, with this particular figure as a figure. Can you pose him? Can he hold the guns? Can he hold his rifle with two hands? Can he, you know, cradle his pistol hand, you know, and support himself while he's shooting a pistol? You know, can he reach to, you know, his holster, things like that? Like, can I pose him doing these things? They actually test that shit, and they're not getting paid to do this by a corporation. They're doing it for, you know, sometimes a couple $100, sometimes, you know, $80 or so, but they're doing this because it's their hobby. Why is it that the company can't do it? I mean, we all know the answer. It's just laziness. This saves them money if they don't test things, if they don't pay for, you know, an engineer or an engineering team to make sure that the Joes work. But, you know, the problem is, if you do it once, you don't have to do it again since you reuse parts. I mean, Marauders is coming out with their Task Force figures, who you already could see are more posable than the Joes. Freaking Boss Fight Studios, they're coming out with their own figures, the Vitruvian Hacks, and they're more posable than Joe figures. And a lot of those guys worked for Hasbro at some point in time. There should be a standard in how these things work. So, you know, it amazed me when I'm noticing that I can't find this is the only time I've ever seen these guys in the store, and the peg warming Heat Viper and Blowtorch. I mean, Pursuit of Cobra Blowtorch is still peg warming at several CVS's around my way, and they turned around and they just put him in a 2-pack and made him peg warm even more. Anyway, the gear. This is the wrong web gear for him. He's got a holster that's supposed to be for a different pistol, which would go with this guy. It comes from the Mars Captains, and as you can see, he's got a different gun in there. I'm going to give you a close-up of what that gun should look like in a second, but this is the gun that comes with the Night Viper that they want you to put in that giant holster. When the gun that actually goes in the holster is a pulse pistol from, you know, Rise of Cobra, which is a lot thicker than that tiny little fake Deagle. And they think that, you know, you're just going to stuff it in there and it'll be good. When you put it in there, it shakes around and most times it falls out. So the web gear is a no-go. It's just not cool. It doesn't work. I switched it with the custom Cobra Commander that I just got. He came, Briscoe 1234 gave me all the accessories, so I was like, hey, I'll just use this for someone else. A couple people on the Joe community Facebook page, they switched up their gear on theirs because they said the same thing. The gear just doesn't work. It doesn't look right. My first thought, though, before I even saw that I had this, was to put the web gear that came from several Pursuit of Cobra figures and a couple of Retaliation figures. It just looks better, and he comes with a machete, and he has nowhere to put it, so it was like, hey, just put it in that thing, you know, and it just looks better. It looks more functional. It looks more tactical. It looks like he's running around out in the nighttime, you know, across either, you know, freaking, I don't know, mountains or whatever, you know, mountains, forest, whatever. Here's another thing, construction-wise, peg holes. You can't fit his foot all the way down on the peg holes. Neither version. So he kind of tips forward on his toes. I mean, you can clearly see him. Because I kept thinking I was doing something wrong. I'm like, what is going on with this thing? And I'm pressing and I'm pressing and I'm pressing. And then I'm like, oh, on freaking low light, not a problem. And I don't understand why these kind of problems are still plaguing us when they should have this process down. These are his accessories all together. Guess how many of them he can actually use. I'm not going to tell you. No, I'll tell you later. This is pretty much what mine looks like now. And like I said, it's a badass looking figure. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, you want to be able to do what... You want to make him do badass shit. You want to put him in badass poses. You don't want him to just look a certain way and not actually be able to serve a purpose in your collection. His ammo bag has a like a little pocket that you can put the flashlight in, which is cool because I love when you can store the weapons somewhere. This pistol also, I was looking at it and I thought about it. It doesn't quite fit this night fighter stereotype or function that he has. That would fit more because it's silenced. It looks like it's got extra stabilization. You know, it just looks like something that a marksman would be using. This shotgun, it's a nice looking shotgun, but if you look closely at his trigger finger, the hand with the trigger, he doesn't hold it. It just pops out of his hands. And I'm like, why is this still happening? Like, this shouldn't happen with these figures. Didn't you give them the extra wrist articulation to give them the ability to properly chamber their guns? And it doesn't matter what gun you put in his hands. It's a little bit better with the M4, but it's still horrible. I mean, shortly after I put that in his hand, it started to kind of just pop forward, and I'm like, what is the deal? I'm not chopping this guy up so that I can, you know, make him fit. You know, it just... And then the sniper rifle is the worst. His finger can't go through the trigger hole. You have to warp the trigger hole or cut the trigger guard so that his finger can get in there. The handle is big and kind of awkward. You can get it in his hands, but just like I said with the other stuff, it pops out. Every time, it pops out. That's not my sniper or my night fighter or whatever, you know? And then you move over to, what's his name, Low Light, and it's perfect. Look at how he chambers the gun. It looks perfect. There's like no issues. He's holding it the right way. He's looking down the freaking length of the gun. I mean, they are soldiers. This is the 50th anniversary. Some of these things should be perfect by now. When I showed you guys the SIC Kiwami Tamashi Fies holding a rifle, and he had double jointed elbows, so that made it even better. So I don't know, there's some things that are lacking from Joe's that we should have them by now. They should have been introduced just for the 50th anniversary, and this is purely on a construction level. And it's weird too because you move back a couple years. This is a couple years prior to this, and there was the Pursuit of Cobra Jungle Viper, which was a throwback to the Night Viper, with this amazing, huge sniper rifle. It was like an anti-tank rifle. This shit, it's like a Buster rifle. And he can hold his rifle properly. It's even got the little treads and stabilizers so that you can put it down on something, lock the treads in place, and then boom, you let it rip. But he can hold the thing, his giant fucking gun decent, you know. None of the Joes hold it perfectly, but I mean that actually it's simulating what he should be doing. You know what I'm saying? What he should be capable of doing. There's no excuse why the new, you know, 50th anniversary figures can't have this kind of engineering. You're reusing parts from these very same figures. It just doesn't make sense to me. So, you know, if you want to make him a sniper, you're going to have to give him a different sniper rifle. You're going to have to screw around with the joints in his elbows to give him more room to bend so that he can actually hold the, you know, the gun without as much resistance. Hold any rifle without as much resistance. I don't know. I don't dig that. And I'm not a fan of this rifle either. It does look good, but it just seems like it's too awkward for them. So anyway, I have him with the M4, so mine is set up as a night fighter. So I got rid of the sniper rifle and just gave him weapons that he could actually, you know, use. And I might look for more. At one point I was thinking that they should use pistols and be kind of like stealthy, you know, run up and clock folks up close, you know. But I don't know, we'll see. I kind of think of them as weapon specialists, and It kind of sucks though because they can't use every weapon, and that's the lame part. And this, honestly, I don't understand how you could pay more than $7 for this figure. I mean, it comes from a $14.99 pack, but I see him online going for $20 or more. And it doesn't make any sense. People saying he's rare. He's not rare because there's 2 different types of this figure circulating right now. So don't be fooled if you do see this guy on eBay and it's you know, $20 or something like that. That's not a good price for this figure. You know, it's not worth $20. It's not worth more than the set that he comes in. You know, if it was just him and it was a Pursuit of Cobra like quality release, then I'd be like, you know, fine. If he could chamber his fucking rifles, he comes with 3, you know, 2-handed weapons. And he can barely hold 2 of them. See, he can't hold any of them without problems. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, I had to take a drink real quick. But, yeah, it's not worth all that money. This is where I get frustrated, you know, because scalpers make it so difficult for us regular just collectors that when we do see it, we see the thing we want, we try to hurry up and jump on it, and then we think about it and we're like, man, this really wasn't worth all the hype. You know, all the trouble you went through is not, it's not 100% worth it. Now, I'm not saying that the figure completely sucks ass. What I'm saying is there's a lot of basic things that he should be able to do that he can't do, and that sucks. So, you know, weigh your options. There are better figures in Retaliation, and there are better figures in the 50th so far. Granted, the QC is all over the place with these figures. These actually didn't have any like paint QC issues, none, and I bought 2 of them. So I don't know, be careful, you know, be smart about your purchase. Don't just get it because it's a Night Viper and everybody keeps talking about how awesome the figure is, because he doesn't do anything that the rest of your guys don't do. And you could probably cobble together a better one because you would actually take the time to find parts that actually work. So, you know, if you're a customizer, hey, do what you got to do because you'll make this figure better. I'm 1000% sure of it. But if you're not and you're just a collector, if you leave a mint on card, this is a perfect candidate for that. But if you're going to play with this figure, you're going to be really angry because he is not one of the best figures. Not at all. He's definitely not the better one of the 2 in this 2-pack. So, you know, it's cool to have someone for what's in him to fight, but not on my watch. Hell no. Now, for the jewel of the pack. And I know a whole bunch of people are going to be like, well, it's not the jewel, it's an old figure. It's a quality figure. He's got a couple flaws. I mean, that face sculpt is amazing. But he's got a couple flaws, but they're not on him as a figure. The flaws are in some of his gear, even though that's also a plus in this set. And if you're looking closely at these pictures that I've shown you so far, you can already see what I did, you know, gear-wise, to alleviate the problem. As you know, a lot of his parts, well, I'll say his lower half, it's Pursuit of Cobra Beachhead with some, you know, little bit of chain, you know, retooling and whatnot. If you look at his lower leg, especially below the knee, you can tell for sure it's the exact same figure. There are parts still there, holes for stuff is still there because there's a little computer on Beachhead's leg that has a wire that connected to this piece that's right on their ankles, and he still has that hole. So there you go. His jacket and arms, like his arms kind of remind me of the Techno Viper. I don't know for sure, but you know, it looks pretty close. It's the same deal, big jacket with these huge, you know, wrist pieces. There's the only piece that's missing from this set is the little flashlight piece that's supposed to clip there. I hate this goofy gold star. Well, you did a good job, Low Light. You get a gold star. Like, it's not cool enough to me for the Joe's new symbol. This is all the gear he comes with, which is just about everything that the Pursuit of Cobra version came with, except for the flashlight. The you know, leg-mounted flashlight. Yes, the bullet. The bullet is here. I think it's funny though how big the bullet is compared to the others, but it's still awesome. His backpack is awesome because all the gear you just saw, just about all of it can fit inside the backpack. I mean, you finagle it a little bit and you'll find a place to put it. There is a peg on the side for his phone, that battery operated, the crank phone. It's pretty cool because you just clip it on and there you go, or stick the peg in the hole and there you go. And you know me, I go ape shit for weapon storage because too few figures have it. Here's his sniper rifle. This sniper rifle is actually a pretty cool construction. The buttstock, it's a sliding buttstock, which is kind of nice because you never see that on Joe's. Usually the buttstock is just sculpted and it's too long, so it fucks up the Joe's ability to actually hold it and chamber it the right way and, you know, look down the length of the gun, and it's kind of annoying that they do that. In this case though, you know, it's retractable, I guess, so you can kind of put it, you can always get it to look like it's resting against his shoulder or his chest. The stand works really well. You can actually fold it forward once you have it attached, or you can fold it backwards. It really doesn't make a difference. It stands really well. I mean, it looks good. But if you look at all the pictures from this picture to when I pointed out in a few minutes, you will see that the scope is the big issue. The scope, for whatever reason, they sculpted pegs on the scope that are too big for the holes. So they go into the holes, but they're not the perfect length or the perfect shape. So once they get in there, it's like the hole is starting to, it's too big to actually stay in those holes. So it's like once you put it in, it starts pushing its way back out, fighting that hole, and it just falls off. And it happened to me like 3 or 4 times, and I'm sitting there saying to myself, what the fuck is going on? Like, what am I doing differently? So I was like, fuck it. I bought 2 sniper rifles from Marauders for one shot, and then I found the perfect gun for him as a member of Fenris Company, so now I have an extra one, and it's perfect for Mr. McBride here. Dude can hold this thing perfectly. It's already engineered so that it fits the right way. The buttstock is not retractable, but it doesn't get in the way. It almost looks like you just have the same gun with slightly different, it is the same gun with slightly different tooling. I mean, you see he can hold it perfectly, finger fits on the trigger. It's just not too bulky, it's not awkward. I can maneuver him so that he looks, you know, like a professional sniper. Like he looks like a real sniper with this thing in his hands. And that's what you want, you know. That's what makes your dios or your setups or your pictures or whatever, makes them look that much better, is how authentic can you get these poses? How lifelike can you get your Joes to look? If they're missing certain articulation, or they how do I put this? If they don't have certain engineering to pull off certain positions and movements and whatnot, then it's gonna look really phony. I mean, look how big his jacket is. He's got a bulky kind of jacket on, and he still can do more with his arms than the freaking Night Viper, who's not wearing a jacket, who doesn't have any armor in front of his chest that's supposed to obstruct his arms or some shit like that. Like, it doesn't make sense. So, you know, when I complain about it, I'm complaining because I would like it to make sense and I would like it to work, but it doesn't work. I mean, even the Cobra Eel had a better range of motion with his upper arms so that he could, you know, hold things properly, and he could use both hands to aim his rifle. So, you know, I don't have any of those issues here with Low Light. So he is a win-win. I have no issues with him now. The only thing, like I said, is that stupid, his damn rifle. But the cool thing is the case and the backpack. There is a hole on the case that you can stick the backpack in and then put the case on his back, and then he is ready to run around and do what he's got to do. And he's got all his gear with him, and that's always a plus. So all in all, you know, I think people should be buying this set for Low Light, because, you know, he's the plus. The Night Viper is a big minus in my opinion, because they just didn't do enough right with him to make him that awesome unbelievable get. You know what I mean? There's just too much slop, in my opinion. I almost want to make him a zombie or like some kind of a victim of some sort, you know. But all in all, it's a decent set, you know. One of these figures is fucking amazing. The other figure is just kind of eh. If you can get past the flaws that I pointed out, then you might like it, you know. If not, you might want to get it just for low light, and then or buy low light separate on eBay, you know. So and just call it a day. Anyway, I am Strident. This has been my review of the G.I. Joe 50th Anniversary Night Marksmen pack. It's the best. To me, it's one of the best things that they gave us because it's a figure that we missed out on. You know, some of us have missed out on him because he didn't. I mean, Pursuit of Cobra wasn't even out that long, and that wave disappeared quickly. You know, and he was one of those ones that I think by the time it caught on that he was that awesome, it wasn't in the store anymore. You know, so it's a second chance for you to get him. And then for those of you who want a Night Viper, for whatever reason that is, here's your opportunity to get one. You know, just keep in mind the issues that you're going to face, and you should be good. I still am working on the Joe collection video. It's taken a while. I got a lot of Joes, but it's on the way. So Chapman Films, it's coming. Pay attention. It's coming. I didn't forget about you. I promise. I want to say thanks to all the new subscribers. There's been a lot of you in the last couple of weeks, and I'm pretty happy about that. And yeah, keep watching. I got lots of good stuff for you. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace outside.